So my intervention is regarding our renewable energy export policy direction. So as YB Nik Nazmi rightly pointed out, the biggest players in the world, such as Apple, Meta, so on and so forth, have already committed to net zero by 2030, and Microsoft negative. So in the data center and digital infrastructure space, RE supply is key to attract high-quality investment, as Yang Brucer of PNB mentioned that the thing is about RE is economy. So as entities committed to environmental and climate standards, these global investors seek to have high-level climate-related commitments when looking for locations to set up their physical footprint, right? So which relates to renewable energy. So in short, Malaysia's renewable energy supply maintaining on Malaysian soil is critical to the investors who will prefer to come to Malaysia if RE supply is unavailable or inadequate in other countries. So YB Nik Nazmi and YB Rafizi, Malaysia's ability to generate, we may not be there yet, but we have the ability to generate RE supply, is a strategic strength of our country, which some of our neighbors struggle with. And therefore, it's in my view that we should maintain this strategic advantage for our nation, Malaysia, by keeping the RE supply within Malaysia. I would like to close with one cheeky point. As TNB consumer, we contribute to the RE fund at a rate of 1.6% monthly of our monthly bill. I believe this contributes to the RE generation. I feel that it's not right that we consumer pay for RE generated and then get exported to other countries and benefit other countries.
Okay, terima kasih. Saya nak mula sikit. I'll start a bit on the RE export, just to touch on it a bit. I agree, as I said, there is a debate on the matter. But while in terms of physics, energy is a finite source in terms of physics. But in terms of generating RE energy for the country, it is, what do you call that? We can expand the capacity. So, yes, one argument, you don't want to export so that we can focus on our demand first. But second, we also know that Singapore is, in other words, desperate for RE because they don't have much space left. They are even talking to, well, they spoke to Australia, that didn't work out. They're talking to Sarawak. We know about getting energy from there. So, but the obvious choice would be Indonesia and Semenanjung. That's the obvious choice. And if we do export, one, we can sell at market rate. Even our current rates for non-domestic, for the medium and high voltage, is still subsidized to a small extent. But if we sell to overseas, it can be sold at market rate. And secondly, it allows us to scale up, make all this new RE technology to be cheaper. We can even use stuff like battery storage, which may not be feasible at current tariffs in Malaysia. So those are the things that is there, right? So what I'm saying is that there's two sides to the debate, which we really need to think about it. And as mentioned, I think by some of the speakers just now, we've seen how other countries have tapped for this opportunity.
I prefer to see in slightly different perspective. It is not too much technical and industry-centric, but rather a much more common sense consideration to this question of should we export or not export our RE. What is our biggest objective? Our biggest objective is to debottleneck, to accelerate, so that we can be a green energy leader in this region. That's number one. What are the ecosystem that is developing with or without us that we cannot control? That in this region, there will be interconnectivity. That whether you like it or not, green financing will pour to the country that drives this interconnectivity. So we can continuously debate about should we or should we not sell to Singapore, but if we don't, Indonesia will take it. And as Indonesia gets more interconnected, all the way, and you're not just looking from Laos to Thailand, of course, we have Malaysia to Singapore, you have Indonesia to Singapore, you also have Philippines trying to build the whole interconnectivity. Is happening, whether you like it or not. So for us, at least from my perspective, given this situation, what do we do? It's almost the same principle and philosophical questions that governments have to decide from time to time. For example, all those years back, when there was WTO, free trade, whether you like it or not, free trade was going to happen. Do you say that we live in our bubble and we can survive on our own and let others take the opportunity, or do we take our place at the table and negotiate and get the best for us? And that's basically our view. I don't think there is an either or. There can be a sweet spot. And that will define what we are as a country, as an industry. Given this situation, if we look, iterate, find the best, and really focus, we will be able to find the sweet spot. And I prefer to take that approach, rather than say it's best to just live in our bubble, let's just see our demand for RE grows organically because the world moves faster than us. And in that perspective as well, I know there's always this discussion that if we export our energy to Singapore, that makes Singapore more attractive as an investment destination. That's not necessarily true, because we have a lot more on top of RE that we can offer, that Singapore can offer. We have lands, we have bigger market, we have other resources, and most importantly, we can plan. That's why, when I came to office, I went through all the blueprints. I'm happy with the blueprints and the plans. In fact, we have a lot of blueprints, sometimes too many blueprints. The issue is not blueprints. The issue in this country, and governments after governments bear that responsibility, is implementation. We have a good plan, and sometimes we allow the plan to try to achieve itself. It doesn't happen. So the biggest task that I have, Nik has, and our administration has is this. Given all this, how do we expedite? And that's why we choose, and I think in our view so far, the administration's view, is that let's take this opportunity, take the bull by its horn, because with it, hopefully, we can negotiate and attract the green fund and also the technology and expedite, because then, once there is a higher take-up, once the industry grows much faster, then we can no longer delay, for example, looking at our transmission's agility. Because otherwise, it's a chicken and egg. We will always say that for this to happen, RE ni kita kena ada storage ke ini gini, because it's not. Well, now we have to export. We have to figure out about the agility. Then it spurs us to start talking about the next connectivity and the next connectivity. So I prefer to focus on that rather than allowing it to organically try to solve itself and try to fit into the plan that we have. Of course, the devil is in the details. Like Datuk Baharin said, it's all about the economics. I agree. And this is where you have the best opportunity, because I think you have an administration that is willing to listen. Because we have to make sure that the transition is financially viable and sustainable. But if other countries seem to be charging ahead and they seem to be financially viable and sustainable, we cannot take the position that it's not. We have to crack our head and find ways to make it, because if other countries can do it, certainly we can.